And I'm thinking like, what have I done? Like, I'm freaking out at this point because like he's not asking that because I did something good. Today I am sharing the most expensive mistake I made as a helicopter pilot. A mistake cost me thousands of dollars and I hate it, but that is a huge learning lesson that hopefully I can share with you. If you're new here, my name is Devin. I am a helicopter air ambulance pilot. I've gone through the full process of flight school, working different jobs up to this point now. And in this video, I'm going to share that expensive mistake and hopefully you can learn something from it. That's like autopilot, dude.
How do you fly a helicopter? Well, I'm going to show you.
This happened in 2021. I was in Hawaii at Kona International Airport, identifier PHKO. I was going for my CFII checkride, Certified Flight Instructor Instrument checkride. This was the last test I had in flight school. After this, I was done. This was my last thing and I failed it. That's just to throw it out there. I failed it. Let's go through on how I failed it. So I'm going to break this down as concisely. If you're not an IFR pilot, I'm going to break this down as simply as I can. IFR stands for Instrument Flight Rules. This is basically flying around just on the instruments of your aircraft. You can't see outside. This checkride CFII, Certified Flight Instructor Instrument, this is allowing you to teach people how to do instruments, how to fly instruments. This is the toughest checkride. It's a very challenging checkride. We're not going to talk about all of that, but I'm going to explain this as simply as I can. So the specific approach was the localizer back course runway 35. You can see that up here. This is at Ellison Onizuka Kona International Airport. This is where I went to flight school. Essentially what you need to know about an instrument approach plate is here is basically the picture view and then like the profile view. Here's the airport and then these are your minimums. So basically how an instrument approach works is you get on the approach, you use your aircraft instruments to fly a set gradient down to a set altitude. If you have not broken out of the clouds at that altitude, you have to go mist. You have to go around and climb again. So our minimum altitude that you can come down to on a straight in runway 35 approach is 460 feet. So you read on your altimeter at 460 feet. If you are not in clear conditions underneath the clouds, you have to go around. So let's get into this. Essentially how this works is here is the airport. You can see it right here. I know there's a lot to look at, but just work with me here. So here is the airport. We're eventually going to end up back here. We have to start somewhere. So you start an approach at the initial approach fix, IAF, initial approach fix, Hawksley. So basically we're coming in over the airport and we're going to hit Hawksley and then we're going to go outbound. We're going to do what's called a procedure turn. So we're going to turn to a heading of 219, do a course reversal, come back in, and then we're going to get back on the localizer and fly the approach down. It sounds confusing. Once you start understanding it and working through it, it's not that bad. I came in at Hawksley. My initial approach fix Hawksley, I need to be at 4,700 feet. So I came to Hawksley at 4,700 feet. I continued outbound, and then I started to go outbound here on a heading of 219. So I turned right to heading 219 in the helicopter, and on your CFI checkride, you're teaching all this, you're explaining all this, you're also talking to air traffic control, you're also flying this. It's challenging. So I turned right to heading 219 and then I did my procedure turn. I did, I think, a left turn. I came back inbound to heading 039 and then I intercepted the localizer. The instrument landing system, the localizer, this is the radio frequency that the aircraft picks up to fly us straight into the runway. So when I passed Hawksley, initially I was at 4,700 and then that's when I was going outbound. And then you do your procedure turn at 3,300. And then when you're on heading 354, which is the reverse, 354 is our inbound heading to runway 35. 354 is the precise heading. So you have to be at 3,300, maintain 4,700 feet or above until established outbound for the procedure turn. So you have to be 4,700 outbound and then you can start descending. And then when you hit Hawksley again, this is going to be your final approach fix. So you do your procedure turn, you come back around, you come inbound on the ILS. Hawksley was your initial approach fix to start the procedure. This is also your final approach fix. So here's where I made the mistake. I had started my descent. I was coming back inbound. I was above 3,300, and then you have to start descending to hit Hawksley at 1,700. This is a very large descent, 3,300 to 1,700. What I did is I descended, I started my descent. I was like, all right, we're coming inbound. And for preface, this was the last procedure for my, this was the last maneuver for my CFII. I had been in flight school. This is the final test. And I'm like, I was doing good. I hadn't messed anything up on the oral, the flight portion. This is the last thing. As soon as I come in on this approach into the airport, I'm done. So my mind was already maybe a little bit checked out. I don't know. Big learning lesson. I was coming inbound, 3,300, and I started my descent. I need to be at 1,700 at Hawksley. So I'm coming in here and I'm like, all right, I'm on my descent, checking all my gauges, and I'm good. It's like, all right, we're coming up to Hawksley. We're like 2 miles from Hawksley, 1 mile from Hawksley, and then we hit Hawksley, and I'm good. And I like continue, and then the DPE, designated pilot examiner, he says, Devin. I was like, yes, how's it going? And he's like, Devin, what's wrong here? And I was like, nothing. Like, we're on the approach, we're tracking the localizer, we're all good, we've done our procedure turn. And I'm thinking, like, what have I done? Like, I'm freaking out at this point, because like, he's not asking that because I did something good, he's asking that because I did something wrong. And I'm trying to go through it all in my head, like, what have I done wrong, what have I done wrong? And he points to the altimeter, and the altimeter reads 2,700 feet at the final approach fix. I was at 2,700 feet when I crossed the final approach fix, when I needed to be at 1,700 feet to cross the final approach fix. And for anyone asking, I had localizer guidance, but I did not have a glide slope guidance. I don't know if we were doing a failed instrument, but I did not have glide slope. So I was just using my altimeter. I made a mental mistake, and I descended from 3,300 down to 2,700, not 1,700. I was 1,000 feet off. And he said, Devin, what is your altitude? And I looked at it. I looked at my altimeter and my heart sank. I was at 2,700 feet. And right away I knew, oh, yeah, I just failed my check ride. I just failed my CFII check ride. And I just sat there and I flew in, and I knew exactly what I had done immediately. Yeah, I just didn't descend, and I misread the altimeter. It's really embarrassing. That's what happened. So the title of this video was the most expensive mistake I've ever made. So let's go through the cost. I think if I had to remember, this check ride was $1,200 for the check ride. And then each hour was $600, maybe $650 rental hour for the helicopter. So that's $1,800 right there. So just to take it, if everything went good, I was spending $1,800. Everything did not go good. I failed this check ride. So when you fail a check ride, what you have to do is you get a letter of discontinuance, and then you have to go train with your instructor again. So I went and I did more training with my instructor, maybe 2 more flights. If I do 2 more flights and they're each an hour long, at $600 an hour for this helicopter that I was flying, that's $1,200 additionally. So that's up to $3,000 right there. And then when you retake the check ride, you have to pay the designated pilot examiner again to come out and retest you. Sometimes they'll charge you the full amount again, or sometimes they'll just charge you like a half amount because you've already done most of the check ride and you don't have to do the oral portion. You just have to go do the single maneuver again. So I think my DP charged me the half rate, which was $600, plus the rental rate of the helicopter for like another hour was about $600. So that's $1,200. So, you know, this could have been like a $3,000 or $4,000 mistake. I'm just averaging here, depending on how you look at it. Extremely expensive mistake. But this was actually, I don't know, I'm going to phrase this kind of weird, but this was a relatively cheap mistake in terms of my career, because this taught me huge amounts of lessons. I will never misread an altimeter on an approach again. It is burned into my brain. That experience was so painful that now I've got it. And there's so many things I took away from that, just like how to read procedures, instruments, how to check myself. Like, yes, it was expensive, but like I know I'm a safer, better, more cognizant pilot because of that mistake. So yes, like financially it was expensive, but like it was worth it to me. Like, it sucks that I failed a check ride and I have to go explain this story when I apply for jobs. If people ask, have you ever failed a check ride? Yes, here's why. But the benefits of it, like, I learned so much. And from before I had failed to after I failed, I am definitely a better pilot. Like, it made me a better pilot. So I really, I can't say I'm mad about it. To conclude this video, I have to say, please read your altimeters. Yeah, I obviously read your altimeter setting, but I must have just like mentally had finished the flight, mentally finished flight school, mentally started working, making money, and I had just not been paying attention. I didn't have my head in the game, which when you're flying helicopters is a critical part, you have to have your head in the game. So read your altimeter, double check yourself, have a good instrument scan, talk out loud. These are critical things that I learned and walked away from. If you want to know more about instrument flying, check out this video. I made a whole video about helicopter instrument flying in the clouds, only using your instruments. A really fun, technically challenging way to fly, but it is extremely cool and I enjoyed it. So check out that video. If you found yourself enjoying this video, smash the like button, subscribe for all kinds of helicopter content, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.